Well, we're going to highlight it, and we're going to stay live.
Okay. Say 3, 2, 1 again, and then that's where I know where to find it.
Okay, all right. All right, guys, we're about to start. 3, 2, 1.
Let's go. This is the 19th episode of Commentator's Curse. We are here just because I was in town and Blur had some time. We're at the Twitch offices doing this on the middle of a Tuesday to do Big House. Normally we do it at 7:30 Pacific time on Thursdays and sometimes Wednesdays, but we figured this was a golden opportunity. How are you doing?
I'm great. This is actually our second or third time doing an in-person one. I think this it must be second time.
Yeah.
Well, the last time we did, everyone really liked it when we did it in person. In person is always a little bit better. You guys get to see our beautiful faces interact with each other.
Of course.
As we talk the good gospel of Melee. And what a time to have an in-person episode, because this is the week of Big House, the week of one of the big 3 tournaments of the year.
Yes.
I consider Genesis, Big House, and EVO to be roughly that nowadays. And we have a heck of a preview for you guys because we have the confidential information. We know the seeding before it's out. And we also have the crews to talk over. We're going to preview doubles. Every little thing we're going to talk about as we lead into Big House, which is going to be a heck of a show.
Yes, and so this is our primary focus. There wasn't too much last week, so we're just going to focus on Big House. I think it's a great time to do it.
Yeah, we could talk about tournaments of last weekend, but we could not, because this is going to be all about Big House, and it's also going to be, I think, a shorter show than normal. You have to leave in like hour and a half or something.
Yeah, the reason why I'm here, I'm recruiting at Berkeley. For people who actually did send me a resume, the reason why I haven't really responded is because I'm still collecting everything and I'm talking to management to see if we can get a good fit for you guys. So just letting you guys know, if you guys are still interested, I'm still open. And if you guys haven't heard a response, I'm still in the middle of recruiting, so my apologies.
The plug. Well, that's cool. That's awesome, because that's exactly the amount of time I think we need to talk about Big House. So let's just get right into it.
Should we talk cruise, since that's the first event?
No, let's not talk cruise. The first thing we need to talk about is the news that happened this week. Actually, we can talk about some of the news. There's been a lot that happened in the last 48 hours in Smash Brothers. Particularly that Leffen got his visa.
Yes.
And that's going to be a big focus of our preview, because now we have the question looming over the Big House: is Leffen going to celebrate by going to Big House and winning? Is that going to be the celebration? Does he feel like he's ready enough? Because frankly, and this is true, he didn't know that he'd be able to go until extraordinarily recently, right? So is that, there's also other factors, like you have to book a last minute flight. There's a lot of things that go into whether he should go or not. And I mean, at this point, this is the Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Big House in 2 days. So, and we still don't know if Leffen's going.
I think we'll know if he somehow streams today. If he streams from Sweden, then we definitely know he's probably not coming.
Because he'd probably fly over today, not even tomorrow, right?
If he wants to survive jet lag and whatnot.
Yeah. So it's tough. I think the hardest part about all the predictions is there's actually 2 separate paths with Leffen or not Leffen, right?
No, actually, Joe Guy actually confirmed yesterday that he's not changing the bracket, regardless of whether or not he comes.
I mean, it's too late now. I mean, it's just unfair to the Big House staff.
And what's really funny is Curly W actually does a lot of the brackets for Melee, and he calls this the Leffen special, where he does not know whether or not Leffen's coming, and at the very last minute he shovels everything. This time around, Robin said, let's stick to it. There's a lot of schedule conflicts. There's commentators in the fields.
Yeah.
Whether or not Leffen's here, all the pools are still going to be the same.
Yeah. Speaking of commentators, I had an agreement with Joe Guy that I want to enter Big House, but I don't see myself in the pool. I gotta talk to my boy, because I don't know what the hell happened. I'm on the master list, Rob. I don't under Melee singles. And yeah, I didn't get put in. I better be in that bracket. I practiced yesterday. My hands feel good. It's going to be great. As Blur Top 32, the dream, I think it's going to happen. It's going to be like H-Rock at PAX South.
Dude, that'd be amazing. Please don't get drunk, because both of us as H-Rock's mentors had a heartbreak that time.
I don't know what you're talking about. H-Rock is a professional and would never, ever, ever let that get in the way of his Super Smash Bros. Melee performance.
Oh, of course.
Of course, right. Anyway, with that question looming over us of whether Leffen's going to come, there's still a lot to preview. And I guess maybe first off, we could talk about Cruise because that's going to be the day one tournament.
Yes. So per tradition, it seems like every event or every large event runs their own special flavor of cruise. Last year we had regional cruise, and we're coming back again with the top 8 teams with the most votes getting in. I actually put out a Yahoo article, so if we could put that in the stream chat, you guys can follow and preview with us. Should we go ahead and post the link?
Absolutely. Just post the link in the chat.
That'd be funny if I got banned right now
in your own chat. But anyway, the Cruise, and I think they're separated in roughly 2 tiers. Are listed on that link. We'll probably put maybe in the description of the YouTube video for smart and we remember.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you can just look it up on Yahoo Esports. The clear favorite crew is Florida, which, whether you like it or not, has both Mewtwo King and Hungrybox, 2 gods, and Plump, and Wizrow, and Cobalt, and by the way, they threw in a Wobbler in there, Drug Sloth. So it's like, that just sounds like the crew of death, right? Like,
how do you play against this team? Because you send out your Fox player, and let's say he does well. You got Mewtwo King on FD, man. Like, there's so many big things that will crush you.
Yeah, it's tough. Like, you have a person like Plup, who I think is extraordinarily valuable in crew battles because of his character diversity. Sheik, Samus, Fox, he's able to go them all. There's some when we broke down some of the matchups, we were like, wow, his Samus just beats everyone in the opposing crew. Or then you have Mewtwo King where you have FD. I believe this is no bans in the crews.
It's no bans.
It's no bans.
They're mimicking the Melee games format, and I read the rules. No bans.
I think that that's always been a topic of discussion, whether you have 1 ban in crews or no bans. I typically like no bans in every format of Melee. I think even best of 3 should arguably be no bans.
Interesting.
But that's a topic for another day. But they're going to go with the no bans format, which makes Mewtwo King even stronger, makes Hungrybox even stronger because of Dreamland. And, you got Cobalt FD with his Marth potentially. If he goes Marth and Cruise. You got Drunk Sloth wobbling you on FD. There's angles here. I don't know if that crew can be beat. I honestly don't know.
It's really tough because with Mewtwo King's Marth and Hungrybox's Jigs, they can't be super hard counterpicked. But let's say they have a floaty like Peach or Samus, you can send in Hungrybox and he's going up 2 to 3 stocks in that. And Mewtwo King's probably going to go up 2 to 3 stocks against whatever spacey.
So basically in crews, the way it works is the bigger the crew battle gets, the more the bottom half of the team matters, right?
Yes.
The more the depth of the team matters. But in a 5-man crew battle, your top-heavy crews like this. Well, this one is actually just well-rounded, but but your best players having really really good players, god level players, makes an even greater impact because if Hungrybox just takes 7 stocks, crew battle's over.
Yeah,
right.
It's like the baseball versus basketball analogy. Like in basketball, you're carried by star power.
Yeah.
In baseball, you can have 1 star player, but that's not going to carry your team.
Right. In baseball, you can make up a star player's runs with a better core-based team.
Yes.
And basketball, you can't make up not having Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
With Spurs are not going to be as good this year, unfortunately.
So, if we're going to go off the sports analogy, just definitely the Warriors. They picked up Mewtwo King Durant.
They picked up Durant, and everyone's just kind of like, how did this happen? Everyone's kind of pissed off about it, but, what can you do? The rules are the rules. Mewtwo King lives in Florida. Hungrybox does not, but you know what? We're going to put him in there anyway. So they got that going for them, and going to be very difficult to beat that. But I'm not going to say, look, they're the prohibitive favorites. I think there's over an 80% chance they're going to win.
I agree.
That percentage goes down significantly if Leffen goes, and we have a European crew of Armada, Leffen, Ice, Professor Pro, Android, and as their backup, Vandy Angel. Now, keep in mind, if Leffen doesn't go, Vandy Angel replaces him, and I think that crew is actually, probably 4th best. But I think with Leffen, that's the 2nd best crew, and can can beat Florida on a good day if all the cards go right.
I think the big thing here is whether Armada and Leffen or Muta King and Hungrybox are stronger. Because if Armada and Leffen can take, let's go positive in that interaction, then they can win it. And so it's definitely very interesting because they're not. If you look at their characters, shouts to Shek. I need to talk to them about that. But I mean, they have like 3.5 foxes on their team, so you do also run the risk of your foxes just not going up to par either. So.
Yeah, and that happens a lot. I think this crew, as strong as it is, even with Leffen, is still a lot worse than Florida for a few reasons. So we talked about how Plup Samus can be dangerous, and this is one of the crews where you look at it and you're like, what is Leffen going to do against Plup Samus, even if he's there? What is Ice going to do against Plup Samus? What is Professor Pro going to do against Plup Samus? Maybe they put Android against it, but I don't really know. Like that, I don't know if he knows that matchup. I'm assuming Plup Samus still beats Android, right?
Yeah.
And like you're left with Armada, and Armada against Plup Samus. I mean, that's probably gonna be a trade stock scenario, right? Like floaty versus floaty. You don't want to use Armada Peach stocks on another floaty. You want to use Armada Peach stocks on a fastballer, which can zero death and gain stock advantage for you.
Yeah. You don't want Armada trading, and that's such great value. Like, if your star player is trading with their third or fourth player, then you are losing on that end.
Yeah. And then you think about it, maybe Armada even has to go Fox, because Hungrybox is in the crew, and if Armada goes Fox, everything for them gets a lot worse. I think they most likely have to have Leffen go against Armada, or against Hungrybox, which is why Leffen is so important for this crew, is without him, their Hungrybox answers go down a lot, because then Armada's forced to go Fox, and then Armada's Fox probably gets countered by Plump. So it's like all those factors leading in make me think that Europe just doesn't match up well against Florida, even if they had Leffen.
But then they have a hidden weapon here, because if Professor Pro can go even with Hungrybox, which, we've seen that before, that can be huge. So the role players are going to have to play a huge role here. Now,
when Professor Pro did beat Hungrybox, and that's what you're referring to, it was before Hungrybox got significantly better.
I mean, it was after the coaching situation happened, right?
I don't know. I don't view, because when he beat him in September of last year, right?
Yeah, it was a year ago.
I don't view the Hungrybox to be the same. Like, I don't view Battle of the Five Gods Hungrybox to be the same as Paragon LA Hungrybox by a wide measure.
I agree.
By a wide measure, right? And I don't even know if I view Hungrybox now as good as Battle of the Five Gods Hungrybox, to be fair, right? But
are they saying Evo Hungrybox?
Evo Hungrybox. Evo Hungrybox. Though that's probably the peak of his skill. But, they could take the gamble. And I think in their position, the gamble might be worth it.
Yeah.
But it could also go really badly. You just get 3 stocks. It's so rough, right? So I think Europe, if they get Leffen, they probably still have the second best chance. But if they don't get him, they're going to have to gamble with Professor Pro and Hungrybox and gamble on Armada taking 6 or 7 stocks to really stay in it.
Yeah, I totally agree. So it's going to be interesting. Fox is that type of character that can barely win you by 1 stock or lose by 3 stocks. And that's why Fox is always such a risk.
Yeah.
Because your whole team could do good, and then that one Fox just blows it for your team. And it's just too much of a deficit to come back from.
Yeah, Fox has historically not been the greatest crew character. Even when he wins, it's usually it's very rare to see a Fox go on a 9-stock streak. They'd have to be super hot. Now, one of the best crew statistics I've ever seen was by Fox. That was Silent Wolf in the melee games, but I think he just had a huge skill gap over his opponents. But in terms of the biggest crew battles of all time, some of the best runs we've ever seen have generally been by floatier characters because they're able to hang on to their stocks at higher percentages and not just get gimped, right? And then lose stocks on their way of domination, right?
Yes. And so, should we do SoCal or NorCal?
I think they're roughly even in skill, depending on who you talk to.
I think this is NorCal's crew. Their strategy with no bans is very interesting.
Okay.
And the reason why is because they brought 2 Ice Climbers in for this lineup. And, in a case like Florida, for example, you can send Diskit Boogie against Muta King's Marth or Sheik on FD, and Diskit Boogie will probably come up on top. And if Plup goes Sheik, then you can send Nintendude in, and he's probably going to come out really positive.
I don't think Plup's going to go Sheik against this crew. I think Plup's going to go Samus. He'll want to go Samus against everyone but Shroomed and probably Pew Pew in this crew. Against their Zoo, the 2 Ice Climbers, and SFAT. You frequently see him go Samus. So again, I think Samus is probably going to be his pick. He's probably going to be used as an Icy Slayer. But one thing to note about the Florida crew is they don't have a Peach. And so they don't really have a great IC's answer except for Wizrobe. And that's really, you look at that Florida crew, and no matter how you analyze it, every facet we look at it, they have like an answer to all these problems. Wizrobe's going to be a great answer to Ice Climbers, right? Though I guess historically he hasn't done that well against Ice Climbers. On paper, we always say Falcon against Ice Seas should be good, right?
Yeah.
But Nintendo Lifetime still has a positive record on Wizrobe, as far as I know.
I mean, Wizrobe's very hot and cold. I think we remember the CEO set where he dominated DizKid.
Yes.
But in 2016, he's really inconsistent, and sometimes he just loses. And I think counterpicks are going to be huge here.
Cobalt's typically also very good against characters like Ice Climbers and Ice Climbers in general.
I think Cobalt's the strongest out of these 6 players.
For against Ice Climbers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely don't think you put Mewtwo in. I think Pleb Samus is a good option. Wizrobe's still a decent option, and Cobalt is still a decent option. Either way, I don't think, other than if you put Mewtwo against this kid, the expected value isn't negative enough that Ice Climbers are going to destroy their crew.
Yeah. But, it could go disastrous. I mean, Mewtwo King, we have fond memories of him in crews just losing.
Right. If I was the NorCal coach, I would, and I would never be that, I would try to get an early lead, maybe by putting in one of the heavy hitters in first, so that you can counterpick this kid into Mewtwo King. Right? Because realistically, if they lose the lead, and if they, for example, lose game 1, they're probably not gaining it back, and they're going to lose counterpick advantage, and so they're never going to get a chance to choose this kid into Mewtwo King. Yeah. Rather, they're going to be the ones who's going to be forced to put this kid in a scenario which they don't want him in.
I think it's going to be really interesting, and this is where one possibility I could see Florida losing is that their decision making, because they've typically gone by Hungrybox, hasn't been the greatest, and they somehow convinced Plep to go Sheik and Mewtwo King Marth, and they slot them in poorly. That's the one possibility I could see.
That's true. Florida has been known for pretty bad crew decision making and coaching in the past. I wonder if Hungrybox is still going to take the reign, or someone else in Florida is going to step up and realize, enough with this. We can't have this anymore. But, I mean, I look at the personalities. Is Mewtwo King going to step up? Is Wizrobe going to step up? Is Cobalt really going to get in his way? I don't think so. Who's going to be the guy in the back who's going to be like, no, Hungrybox, how about we don't put you into Mango? How about we don't do that?
I mean, they overcompensated last time, right? Because they saved Plep to the very end because they specifically wanted him to counterpick Mango.
Yeah.
But then they ended up sending Gatsu in against West Balls, and then that pretty much threw the crew battle wide open.
Yeah, exactly. So, that is a big factor, right?
Yeah. If
they get out-coached. Getting out, in crews, I think, of course, it matters in bigger crews even more. But in crew battles, the decision-making and the coaching and getting the right matchups and stage combinations that you want and picking the right players, all those factors are huge in a victory, right?
I think the expected value changes by 3 to 4 stocks with good coaching versus awful coaching.
Yes. It matters a lot. And I think if you look historically, you can see crew battles where you can easily argue one side is more talented, but still lose because of that factor. The MLG one is probably the best example, where the East Coast crew had, I think, 3 gods against just Mango,
yeah.
And they still lost! They didn't have the depth, but it was still really, really, really crazy.
I mean, they could have sent in Duck there, and it would have, washed away Mango, and...
Yeah. There's a lot of mistakes in that crew battle, but looking at this one, I do think NorCal, if they're smart and they send in either Shroomed or Pew Pew in first to get a good lead, save SFAT for Hungrybox, use Nintendo Discord smartly, preferably against Mewtwo King, they have an outside chance.
Yeah.
Now, it's a 10% chance, but they have an outside chance.
Yes, so it's going to be interesting, and, if Florida blows this is probably one of the greatest meltdowns of crew battle history if there ever was such a thing.
They convinced the Chios to allow someone who doesn't live in the region to be a part of their crew. If they don't win, oh my god. Okay, anyway, we're going to talk about the motherland. Southern California, the greatest region in the world, has Mango, West Balls, Lucky, SUJ, MacD, and the alternate is Hugs. This crew is really interesting because it is really well balanced, right? And if things go right, and if they gamble the right ways with matchups, they can also win. So their strategy is very interesting in that they also have what they view as their answer to Hungrybox. That's probably going to be Lucky. I think they're going to set in Lucky against Hungrybox. They're not going to use Mango.
Yeah, I agree. They usually, and they did that last year too, where they slotted Mango for someone else. Actually, they sent Mango against Hungry Box last year. But
Yeah.
Mango's, on the Falco grind, probably untested, I guess is a good word to say, against Puff. So, I mean, he can wreak havoc, and, in Cruz, like, he's just confident. And that's a huge that's the huge X factor here, is how confident you are.
Here's the... Mango is one of the best crew battle players of all time. He has a very long resume of being a strong player in crews. But how can he really be that good against the Florida crew, which has Plup, Music and H-Box? Realistically, how many stocks can he actually take? Like, is the max 6? Like, if the max is 6, I'm not sure if SoCal wins. Even if he takes 6 of those, right? Like, it's... Against those 3 players, like, even if he outperforms, he goes roughly even with those guys, right? Like, how is he supposed to do that much better?
I think
he can even go negative.
I think the main thing is they have to be really strategic. So if they send Mango in, he kills Plup by +2, and then fights Muta King, Smarth, right?
Yeah.
And you can send Johnny in on Dreamland on Muta King's Marth, and you have to keep pushing that forward momentum over. But if they fall behind, then this is going to be disastrous for them. So that early lead that you talked about is going to be huge.
Yeah, I think very likely we're going to see West Balls in first, because they're going to make the hard read. Again, they're the gamblers. They have to gamble with their strategy. They're going to gamble that Hungry Box isn't going to go first. And I think they're also going to gamble that Plop isn't going to go first. That Florida's going to save those 2 big threats. And then just put West Balls in. Hopefully they get a Cobalt or a Wizrobe. If Florida starts with Cobalt or Wizrobe and SoCal gets West Balls and they gambled right, if they made that hard read that Florida's not going to save their threats, then they have a big chance.
Yeah. Like
because West could go +2 or 3 on that.
If he plays against Cole's Fox, it's going to be so
destruction.
Yeah.
Destruction. Now against Marth, it will be but he'll probably still win. He'll go positive. And against Wizrobe, I mean, he'll definitely go at probably +2, right?
Yeah.
+1 or 2. So I still think, that sounds like the soundest strategy. If they get hard red and Hungry Box goes in first, then they at least can maybe try to make up ground with Lucky, but they're probably going to be in the back foot from then on. If I was on Florida's side, I mean, I would start with one of H-Box, Music King, and Plup. I think you take away that option. But regardless, these teams all have like a fighting chance. I think like those 3 crews all have like a solid 10 to 20% chance.
I would actually
win.
I actually send in Plup first if I were Florida.
Plup first? I mean, he doesn't lose to anybody.
He doesn't lose to anybody, and I was actually expecting to do that last year, and they somehow went Wizzy Gatsu in that.
You can never expect Florida to make the right decision. So.
And I was like thinking, well, they've been sending in West Balls first every time. Maybe they make the hard read and call out Plup, who is magnificent in Chic Falco, but they didn't do it. So let's see if they kind of make the adjustments this year. Should we go to the lower half?
Yeah. So we're gonna run through these ones rather quickly. The lower half crews, but just to preview them, Canada has Kage, Kirby Kaze, Ryan Ford, Nun, Nightmare, the 6th God, and Trulia, who's been on the up and up for a long time now. What do you think about this crew?
It's a wild card. I mean, they upset NorCal last year, and they have a lot of heart, and they have a lot of pride in making sure this works out. I don't know if Shroom will not have energy again and somehow blow it.
For those who missed it, this Canadian crew beat a stack. We just talked about NorCal being one of the top 4 crews. Maybe we should have said they're one of the top 4 crews, because last year Shroom showed that he can't beat Kage, apparently, of all people.
He got 2-stocked on a counter pick.
He got destroyed.
Yeah.
It was really bad. This Canadian crew, I mean, they could go far. I mean, they're not going to win, obviously, but can they? The big question with these bottom 4 crews is, can they take a set? I think this crew is very likely going to be matched up against either Europe without Leffen. The brackets aren't out yet. Right?
I'm not sure. It's actually like counterintuitive. I know they put the top 4 teams, away from each other.
Yeah.
But I don't know who they got paired up with.
Right.
And it's based on restrictions on schedule and if they have other conflicts.
Interesting. Well, regardless, this Canadian crew is very likely going to be a 5th, so they're going to playing I think either Canada or NorCal, very likely, right?
Yeah.
If there's no Leffen, they absolutely could beat Europe, right? They have a chance.
They have an outside chance, and they were kind of close last year in semis.
Yeah, I mean, they could. they don't have a great answer for Armada, but you know what? You got to believe sometimes.
Yeah.
So
let's go up. And the Midwest is very interesting. They pretty much keep the same lineup last year, but they don't have a bait this year, and I think that's a huge loss for them.
Yeah, bait for whatever reason has been less active this year. I don't really know why.
I think he's going to a wedding this time around, and so that's why he wasn't able to make
Yeah, but in general, like he just hasn't been going to as many tournaments this year.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure why. Miss you a bait. Please keep going to tournaments. Duck, Kels, KGH, Abu, and Face Roll. Face Roll living in SoCal right now, but I mean he's Midwest too. So that's acceptable. An alt is, and what an alt to have is Dark Rain.
Yeah.
So the legend. Obviously, this crew, you know, they've got Duck and the Goons. You know, it's
Duck and the Goons.
Duck and the Goons, man. Like, it's tough to think that this crew could take a set, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be tough because you know when you look at how stacked the other teams are in the top four, like it's really hard for me to see them forming any advantages at any point in the crew battle.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if they win by... It seems like they're going to be trading stocks at best. Maybe they take a one-stock advantage, and in the counterpick, they're going to get screwed over.
Right. I mean, if you just think about it, there are 10 players in a 5v5 crew battle. And against Florida, Midwest, you know, Florida might have the 5 best players, or 5 of the 6 best players.
Yeah.
You know, 5... That's... How do you win like that? Like, no amount of coaching really makes up for that kind of deficit.
Like,
so.
Yeah, exactly. It just, you know, you're excited because, you know, all these people, they love each other, they're the homies. Just don't see the talent quite being there.
Talent's not quite there yet. Maybe next year, but it's going to be tough. Number 7 is the Southwest crew.
This is actually very interesting for them because we have 2 veterans on the crew that have been out of practice, but they've been taking Melee serious again. You know, there's talks that Taj is taking Melee serious for Big House 6.
Right. Just to talk about the members, it's Axe, Wobbles, Taj, Ty, and Commentator, who is the only non-Arizona member of this crew. He actually lives in Utah. And yeah, so like you said, this crew, like if you took it a few years ago, even better, right? Because Taj, perennial top 20 player in the world. Wobbles, I mean, he's been a top 10 player for much of his career. Axe, top 10 player his whole career. Commentator also was a top 20 player for much of his career. Ty, of course, you know, always saw like top 50 player. Like again, like a lot of players that maybe their stock isn't high right now, but if they, you know, tap into those reserves and tap into, you know, the potential that, you know, they've all shown us, they could do some damage. They could do some damage. I don't know if they can win anything, but they could do some damage.
I mean, imagine if like they played Florida and Wobbles took 4 off of Muta King and like 2 off of $100.
Wobbles a crew battle master.
I mean, this is a team that you have to be you can't underestimate them because their counter picks are actually really strong. They have Martz for FD. Like basically, this is actually a strange situation where they actually kind of have an outside chance against a team like Europe that's playing 3 Foxes. With the Pikachu.
You know what? It's possible.
Yeah.
Pikachu FD, Ice Climbers FD, double Marth FD. This team is really aided by the no bans rule because they got FDs on deck.
Yes.
So.
And so
my only problem is I don't know if they're ever gonna have counter pick advantage. How they're gonna be picking FD against 1 stock instead of 4 stock because they have to, like, if you're again, I don't know if coaching can save this crew against the absurd monstrous crews that are in the top 4, but if you are a crew captain in this crew, you should be trying to win that game 1. Yeah. You need to win that game 1 because your only strategy is FD.
Yeah,
like,
pretty much.
That's your strat, right?
So, yeah, I mean, I think out of most of the teams, other than maybe Canada, like I think they have a potential to make a big upset.
Right. And I hope they go for it. Like, I wonder, you know, on that, like, they're obviously gonna have a lot of fun. We might even see Taj Mewtwo. Who knows? But this is a crew with a freaking Mewtwo, Luigi, and a Pikachu, and Ice Climber. Like, what's going on here? You know?
That's the AZ low tier classic.
This is like, if they win, they're legends. You know, look at that. That's such a sick crew.
Yeah. And then we go to the last one. I think they're actually their own tier. I'm so sorry.
This is the crew that, frankly, should have gotten voted in. It's largely going to be 30 minutes of Chew Dat trolling and Chillin' Dude rapping. This is Maryland, Virginia, with Chillin', Chew, Zane, Wenbo, and Cypher Phoenix, my good friend, with Peanut Phobia, a Yoshi, as their alt.
So, I mean, Zane, he's gone a lot better. People are saying that he'll be the best in MDVA in a year.
Some already say he is.
And then you have Chillin' and Chew, of course, but I don't know. I can't think of a strategy that will quite work for them. I mean, wish you best of luck, but I just don't see this team beating anybody. Maybe, if we gave them the Nintendo, maybe they'd have a better chance, but...
Nintendo is taking the easy route, He definitely, he had a choice. He could have done either crew, I think.
Yeah.
And he said, I'd rather not do this. And he decided to go with NorCal instead. How the times change, how quickly they switch sides, how quickly they take up a new banner. Nintendo's a turncoat and never trust them with anything, guys.
Yeah. I mean, no offense to Wembo and Cypher, but maybe if we turn that into Laud and Smash God, maybe they would have more of a chance.
It's actually shocking. If you look at the list of Big House and the top 100, almost all of the top 100 is going, right?
Yeah.
But the ones missing are almost all MDVA. MDVA is stronger than this. MDVA is a good region.
I mean, let's list
but they don't have all their guys.
I mean, let's list all their players that are not here. So there's Red, Milkman,
Yes.
Wad,
Smash God,
Plank,
Hat,
Siren.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of
like,
people.
You just listed 8 people. That's a lot of people. They got Peanut Phobia on their crew. No offense to Peanut Phobia.
He's your friend.
He's a good guy. I mean, NDVA, it's the home of Smash, right? Literally.
It is.
Smash Brothers as an esport.
When we list all the people that have, come from that region.
Yeah, I mean, it was the best region in the world. Again, we talk about Chillin' and Chew, Tope, Siren, husband, wife,
Azin.
myself, Azin. Legends of the game.
I like that you snuck in yourself.
Well, no problem. But overall, Maryland, Virginia, long time known as the best region in the world. No longer the case. Hasn't been the case for a good decade. But still really strong. Never really went out of being a top 4 region, right? They're stronger than this. They're stronger than they're showing on that paper.
Yeah.
But they're just missing their guys.
And to be fair, they bring out hot fire raps. And for whatever reason, they have the anti-Hugo gene, whatever. I don't know what they did, what's in their water. Yeah.
If they get matched up against SoCal, the best we can hope is that we see either Chillin' or Chew against Hugo, and we can all live happily ever after.
Yeah. But to be fair, I have to clarify something here. Alts only will play if for whatever reason somebody just disappears from the venue and pulls like a Wizzy. They will not be allowed to swap into alt unless that person is just not at the venue for some reason.
Oh, is that how it works?
Yeah.
Interesting. I think that's fair. I like that.
Yeah.
In general, I don't really see any of these crews using their alts, right? Yeah. Who has the best alt? Zoo and NorCal? You'd want to have a flex pick of Zoo, right? That's actually useful.
Yeah.
Rather than double ice climbers. Maybe against a crew that has Peaches.
There's only 2 crews that have Peaches in this whole.
Well, I mean, I think that the worry for NorCal is if they get seeded against Europe, and there's no Leffen, and it's Vanity Angel and Armada.
Well, Vanity Angel's not very good against ice climbers.
Is that true?
Have you watched the Chew set?
Oh yeah, he got bodied.
I don't think he's very good.
Well, there you have it.
Well, let me say this. He's not very good against ice climbers before somebody takes me out of context. I think he's pretty good, just not against ice climbers.
Another thing to mention, though, is we're talking about Peach against the NorCal Ices, but Nintendo and DizKid are extraordinarily good against Peach.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if it'll work, right? Those guys are really good against Peach. You can't just throw any other Peach at those guys and expect a W, right?
Even Nintendo took Mac D to Game 5, so...
Yeah.
It's not as free as we once thought it was.
Right. That matchup's been evening out over time, so I don't know. Obviously, we're not saying VA is bad, guys. We're just saying that he did not perform very well against Ice Climbers.
Yeah, probably doesn't have too many Ice Climbers of like the top 25 level.
Yes.
Yeah, so
yes,
that's Cruz. If we have to pick, for betting men, we'd probably put our money on Florida. I think that's just the reality of the situation. But
I'm going to put my money on SoCal. Let's go.
All right, you got heart.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, should we talk doubles or singles next?
One last thing.
Yes.
I want to talk about before we move away from this crew battles is, can I just say that one thing I object to in this whole conversation is our good friend Hugo's mentality about this crew battle. First of all, he's salty. Apparently he's so salty he's not going to be the coach. And he says he's actively rooting against SoCal because he feels like SoCal has hubris and needs a wake up call to really understand, something like that. He thinks that losing would be good for SoCal. And something I'll say about that is losing is not. If they lose to NorCal or Florida, that is never good for SoCal. And no scenario, and no man should ever think that. No man, woman, or child should ever think that. So I don't really understand what his weird protest is about. Hugo is genuinely a good enough coach to listen to me whenever I tell him what to do. So I would love if he coaches so that I can tell him what to do and he can take credit for it. So please, Hugo, see the light, listen to Blur, and coach for SoCal. Someone needs to wrangle in Mango and Wes and Joey. Those guys, they're all over the place. They can't be handled. They need a Hugo handler, a grown man, an adult, an elderly figure to really guide them to victory.
I think the main thing is I have to establish motivation factors for each of the players in SoCal. Johnny and Mango are like the least interested in this crew. I have to tell Johnny that if he wins, that's 4 buy-ins at the Commerce for him to play with. I'm going to have to talk to Johnny and say, dude, this is 4 buy-ins towards your bankroll.
It's funny because, in deciding how to make exhibitions more impactful for players, make them want to play exhibitions more, over time we say, you know what, let's introduce this compendium format, let's add a pot to it, respect the player's time by putting a real pot to it, and we did that, and we still have these kind of issues. Just like, guys, we're paying you to play. Just sit down, hold the controller, and die, Just like, this is freaking, come on, Johnny.
All right, should we do doubles first and then cap it off with singles?
All right, let's talk about doubles real quick.
There's a lot of good teams at this event, I gotta say.
Right. So running through the major crews, I think we did a little bit of a preview last episode, so I think we're going to run through this one rather quickly. Armada Android, Mutiny Hungrybox, SFAT Pew Pew, Plop Westball, Shroom Allen, MacD Ice, Lucky Reno, Chillin' Chew, SJ Lovage, the old school team that actually won Big House 1 teams, so that's a former Big House winner. Axe Taj, old school Arizona team.
They used to be really good together.
They used to be very, very good together. Drug Fox, Sweet Light, interesting duo. And then Fruit Loop, Dark Atma, and DJ and the Moon.
I have to say that Drug Fox and Swedish and Fruit Loop and Dark Atma are 4 players that constantly get put under the radar in teams. If you look at their results, they're consistently putting out amazing results. Maybe not to the tier 1 results, but they're just right behind them usually.
Right. Other crews, if we just look down the list, I'm looking out for are, I think, I'm curious to see how Duckaboo do long term. I think Samus Puff is a really dangerous good team. Unfortunately, I think they might just lack a little bit of individual skill in that individual team skill, I should say.
Yeah.
In that they might need some time to develop as a team, but that is a team to watch out for. If 1, maybe 2 years from now, you're looking down and seeing them in top 4s, and wondering how they grew, you can follow them now. Other teams to look out for, I think
Kage UCM, I think, is going to do pretty well.
Kage UCM is going to do. Samus Ganon could do pretty well. There's some character counter picks that do they do poorly against, but they also have some that they do extraordinarily well against. I also think that Nun Nightmare. I saw them playing friendlies with each other on Nun's stream, And I think that could be a long-term team combination, actually. Falcon Marth, that's the Ken Isaiah team, right? Along with Falcon or Sheik Marth, right?
Yeah.
There's potential there. I think Nightmare, he's one of my picks for Rising Star. And last I checked, my last few Rising picks have been Plop, Suisha, Light. We've only been getting hits after hits. I think Nightmare is going to keep getting better. He is approaching the game the right way. Nightmare and None could be a good up-and-coming team. And finally, Toph and Scar. The boys!
Let's go.
The boys are teaming together. Let's see how they do.
Yeah. And then Pro and Vanity Angel, I think Fox Peach is a really good team. Zanguzan and J-Flex, I believe, can
They do okay. They do okay. They're okay. Pro and Vanity Angel, they've been teaming together for a while, right? They're like consistent teammates, right?
I'm not 100% sure on that. I think they've had some experience. I'm not fully sure off the top of my head.
Well, either way, Peach gets a buff in teams. Pro, I think, has a style that morphs its well to teams. It's cool to see that crew come out. I like it because it's, both UK players. They're making like an ultimate alliance, and they're going to go after it. I think that team long term is probably a really good combination for them, as long as VA keeps traveling, right? And if VA keeps traveling, then Pro has a good reason to keep him as a teammate, right?
Yeah.
And then they become a super duo that could stand the test of time. But going back to the top level discussion of teams and who's going to win that, I think those crews are interesting to watch to see, those teams are interesting to watch to see who exactly is going to rise up over time and find the right pairing and all that. But ultimately, the top level is going to be decided by who wins between Armada Android, Mutiny Hungrybox, and SFAT Pew Pew. The three teams I think have a chance to win.
So now we know the seeding. In winter semis, SFAT and Pew Pew are going to be playing Mutiny and Hungrybox.
So Armada Android got seeded first.
Yes.
Personally, I don't think that's correct, but they did win the last big house, so respect is given and respect is earned.
Yes. And so that actually gives them a huge leeway because I think, there's a kind of a bit of a drop-off after PewFat where you have Plub Westballs and Shroom Allen in that 4th and 5th slot. So
it's a big deal. Not having to play one of PewFat or Mutiny Hungrybox during semis is that's a huge deal. Yeah. When there's 3 good teams, seeding matters even more. And Armada and Android were the one who got the nod at the end of the day.
Yeah. So I can only really see. I think it's reasonably safe to say that they're probably going to make it into winners finals, unless Westballs just literally plays out of his mind. I don't see that happening.
What's interesting is, in my seeding, in my head, I have Mutiny Hungrybox, PewFat, then Armada Android. So I actually have it flipped a little bit differently, right? As far as who I think has earned the seeding in my head.
Yeah. Because Armada Android, the only top tier team they played this year was Ice Left.
They haven't done enough. They haven't done enough this year.
Yeah.
Yes, they won last big house, and I understand that's worth.
But they lost to Ice and Leffen at B6, and that's the only top tier team they played in the past year.
Right. So, I don't know. I understand the logic of, hey, when they were last in the States, they won, and I get it, but they haven't done much this year, and I'd expect. I expect they could get upset, right? They could, if there's a crew of those 3 that can get upset by a Plop Westballs or a MacD Ice or Shroom Allen. I guess MacD Ice isn't going to face them.
Yeah.
Or Shroom Allen. I don't think Shroom Allen's going to beat Plop Westballs. I also object to the fact that Shroom Allen is 6 seed instead of MacD Ice. Isn't MacD Ice... That's going to be better than Shroom Allen.
I mean, it's
not close to me.
I think they might be going off last year when Shroom Allen team, they did pretty well.
They did do pretty well, but Ice, people gotta respect Ice as a top tier teams player at some point.
I think on paper, I give it to MacD Ice. Right now, I'm saying, I agree with you. I do think...
I think MacD Ice is the 4th best team here.
I actually agree with you.
I think they're better than Plop Westballs.
And interesting enough, because they're in the 6th seed, SFAT Pew Pew into winners semis is not a given. I think MacD Ice can potentially take that.
MacD Ice can absolutely beat SFAT Pew Pew. The fact they're seeing it, Shroom Allen can't beat SFAT Pew Pew. They've played it a million times, and Shroom Allen absolutely cannot do that, right?
Yeah.
Not even close. but Mac the Ice can. Mac the Ice is a scary team. That's a scary, scary team. That has potential to be a long-term team.
You know what was something that could have been really scary but didn't happen? So Mango in teams, he has a reputation to not enter or sign up and then later ditch his partner.
Yeah.
He asked Plup, actually, to team with him. And Plup denied.
Wait, who asked?
Mango asked Plup.
Mango. And Plup said no.
Yes. Or he did say no, yes. That would have been a scary team, actually, have that happened. That's good. We just ignore that. Sorry, a pop-up box came up.
Yeah, sorry. So, why did he say no?
Because he ditches his partner half the time. So you're flipping a coin basically to see whether or not you actually get the.
I respect that.
Yeah.
I actually respect that a lot. I think it's. So it's interesting. What do you think goes inside the mind of Hungrybox with choosing to team with Plup or Mewtwo? Because back in the day, he used to pick Plup every time. If he was available. But now it seems like he picks Mewtwo every time if Mewtwo is available.
I mean, I think if I remember history, they have historically, always fallen like second place to Armada-based teams, and maybe he feels like he has a better chance with Mewtwo. They handle the Armada-based teams than with Plup.
Guys, by the way, I'm just quickly reading the chat. People are saying Alan Shroom is effing amazing. Blur. Yeah, I think they're amazing. They're not better than Mac the Ice.
Yeah.
I think they're still really good. I think they're probably the 6th seed of this tournament. Something like that. Yes, they're probably 6th seed. They're definitely better than Lucky Reno. They're definitely better than Chill and Chew. They're a 6th seed of this tournament, right? But they're not. Dude, Ice just won SmashCon. Yes, he did with Mewtwo, very good team player. But he just won SmashCon. And do we need to talk about how good Mac D is in teams?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
We don't need to.
We don't need to.
But if you look at Shroomed and Allen's results, I did do the team's research, and the reason why I couldn't put Shroomed or Allen higher was because you look at their placings, and then you look at what that team beat. They haven't really beaten any good teams.
Right, at Genesis they did well.
But what teams did they beat?
They didn't really beat anybody, right? And to get that far in this tournament, they have to beat some people. My personal opinion, I think the bigger question is, so what do you think? Mac the Ice, SFAT, Pew Pew. Do you see that as an upset potential? Yes, obviously the potential, but do you see that happening? To me, it could straight up happen.
I think I wouldn't call it an upset, believe it or not.
It is an upset, I think.
Well, I wouldn't call it a big upset. Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
Thought experiment, right? If you heard Ice Mac D beat PewFat, how surprised would you be? Would you be, oh my gosh, that's an upset, or wow, I could actually see that?
It's not Hugs versus Far.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But that's how I think about it. It's like how big of an upset is basically, if I imagine that scenario happening, how big of a reaction would it have? And frankly, I would have a minor one at most.
Right.
And that shows how good we perceive Mac D and Ice to be.
Yeah. We talked about the teams ranking in last episode, and you had Mac D as, you had him as top 5 in teams, if I'm correct, in terms of the eye test.
In terms of me playing him and how oppressive I feel.
Right. That's the eye test. The field test you had was extraordinarily good, and both of us had Ice in our top 10 in terms of results.
Yeah. For
sure. So by that logic, that's a very 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 good team. I think that SFPP is still 80-20 favorites. I like them still. I think it's 2-1. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I think it's still 80-20. The reason why I think that is because, like I've said many times on the show, I love Pew Pew against one floaty, one spacey teams. I think Mac D's not going to be able to hit them. And if you're asking me which Fox is better while the floaties are zoning each other away, in teams, I pick SFAT every time. I pick SFAT as, the best Fox in teams hands down. No questions asked. So I expect him to win that 1v1 against Ice. Though he has shown times to struggle in the past, Ice is really good at teams as well.
Yeah. I think the main thing here is that the little things of coordination are probably going to be the X factor here, and that's why I would probably give it a PFAT. But I think it's going to be really close. I could see a 5-game set here.
Yeah, it could definitely be a 5-game set. And then, assuming SFAT Pew Pew make it through that gauntlet, they have Mewtwo Hungrybox next. So again, I think SFAT Pew Pew just got the hardest bracket possible. The chance of them winning has gone way down.
Would you rather play Mac D Ice or Lucky Reno?
You'd rather play Lucky Reno. You'd rather play Lucky Reno by a lot. So there's not only a difference between first and second seed. The difference between second and third seed to me is a lot too, because I think Mac the Ice is a super killer team, right?
Yeah.
So after that, they play Mutating Hungrybox. I still think it's that people are going to win against Max the Ice, so I do think they'll make it at least that far. And then, but Mutating Hungrybox, I mean, whew, that's a tough set.
Yeah.
And one thing we will say is, if PewFat win this team's tournament, I think this would be their biggest win ever by a large margin. Right?
In terms of difficulty, absolutely.
Difficulty, yeah. Strength of schedule. You talk about it. This is a tough one.
It's like the Leffen 4 Goddess route in singles, where you have to go through like everybody.
Yeah.
This is exactly what SFAT and PP would have to do.
Yeah. So if we're looking at the top level, who do you think is going to win between the three teams? Now that we know our seeding,
I think I have to give it to Armani Android. Like
you think just because they got seed 1, their road's just that much easier, right?
I mean, like, they're probably not going to worry about the 4th or 5th seed, so they're already going to be strategizing and just be watching the other winner semis match and just prepping, whereas like the other people are going to have to grind it out. And and mental stamina is actually really important, and that's the weakness that I've noted of PewFat is that they can go through one set, but when the longer a tournament goes, the more they kind of fall apart. And this is kind of the thing of, can PewFat really play enough of those high-level sets without, like, kind of just getting exhausted?
I think PewFat's going to get exhausted. That's my personal opinion. Dweb in chat mentions that Blur acts like he didn't come to Mewtwo guys completely obliterating PewFat. That did happen, but I'd like to remind you that Mewtwo King, arguably the best team player in the world, is not MacD. So I do think there's quite a bit of a difference there. I think that because it's earlier in brackets, going to help them too. But yeah, I think PewFat's just going to get exhausted. My chance, I had it as basically an even split between the three teams, with maybe a slight edge to Mewtwo Hungrybox as my picks for who wins. But I think my chance of PewFat winning has gone down to maybe 15%.
Yeah.
Like, it's gotten a lot lower, because I think going through Maxi Ice, Mewtwo Hungrybox, Armada Android, and then one more of those, in grand finals, it's just a little too much, right? It just sounds like it's too much to handle for those guys. They get exhausted. I don't have them as my favorites. I think Mewtwo Hungrybox, though they have to beat both PewFat and Armada Android, I still have them because I think they're just the best team of the lot. If I had to pick, I'm going to go with the 2 God combo. But Armada Android, yeah, their percentage just went up a little bit.
I totally agree.
So,
1 second. So, Edwin Budding's saying, like, I'm putting out a false narrative, but, like, the big thing is I've watched PewFat for the longest time, and the longer their sets go in general, the worse they do.
Oh, he's saying that he's talking about the Smash Summit losers run that they did.
Yeah, but, like, if that's the only thing that you could point to, whereas I have data over every other tournament.
So, I mean, it's the big discussion about losers bracket, right?
Yeah.
Is it, do you get exhausted because there's more matches, or do you build momentum?
Well, like, I've talked to PewFat about this a lot. Like, I always go, like, okay, what was going through your mind when you lost that Game 5? He was like, yeah, like, we just ran out of juice. And this is me just talking to them repeatedly, and we're just like, yeah, like, we just ran out of stamina. And that's been a reoccurring issue for them for the longest time. This is just me talking with them.
Yeah.
And noticing that SFAT's not making the same type of plays anymore. He's not playing as smart, and he's autopiloting. And that's a consequence of just being exhausted.
Again, we're talking about eye test. Everybody might have a point in terms of the data because they have done some losers run in the past. But for me, I also do see that PewFat, when they're hot, is maybe the best team in the world.
Yeah.
Right? Because when they're hot, it's when you see Pew getting down airs that you're just like, you can't believe it. They're doing team combos between, of the opponent's stocks. When one teammate is dead, there's a 2v1 scenario. They take that out so faster than any other team I've ever seen. They literally take whole stocks out in like 5 seconds, right? Just between, the guy trying to respawn. They're so fast with it. And when they're hot, it's just that happening back and forth. It's evisceration. It just looks beautiful to watch, right? But at least from the eye test, I do see that go down a little bit. It might not be that factor. Maybe we're interpreting it wrong. But for me, forgetting whether that factor is true or not, I mean, they're going to have a hard time beating those teams if they're hot or not, right? Like that's just a hard path, right?
Yeah. So I have to. Yeah, I just think that I'm not like.
But Bunny has a good point, John. He says like they're not losing a Plump and Axe because of stamina, Imo, and they lost a Plump and Axe if you remember.
Yeah, but like he's pointing to exceptions to the rule, and if you look at the 3-year history of PewFat, I'm pretty sure the data supports me, and it's more like cherry picking. It's like he's cherry picking arguments against me. Like it's like when like a random like top 200 player says, yeah, I beat DJ Nintendo, so I should be top 100 because I have 2 data points. When like the normal trend is like, no, that's not the case.
Okay.
So that's like my argument.
Okay.
And this is for me just because I always like love to break down PewFat's mentality. Like after they lose a game, after they win a game, I just go like, okay, what's your mental state at, or like what happened, and they'll just basically tell me like, yeah, like we just got tired.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to move on from doubles. We talked about a lot in the last episode, so if you want to see some more detailed analysis, you can look at the last episode of Commentator's Curse. But I think we're going to move on to talk about singles. This singles bracket is as stacked as they come. Maybe even more stacked if Leffen makes it. He is seeded in regardless. Yeah, I think that tournament's going to be rather crazy. We pretty much have everybody. There's a list, maybe someone can link it in chat, which has all the top 100 players who are going to Big House listed. It's basically everyone going, with like rare exceptions.
I think we have like, what, if Leffen goes like 26 of the top 30 from last year's rank.
So it's like, it's everybody. Everybody's going to be there. Whoever wins this tournament is a true champion. There's nothing you can say. Everyone's there. You either win the Big House or you don't.
Yeah.
And to run through the seeds if you want to, since again, people don't have access to that right now.
So we'll just run over the top 8. So in order, Hungrybox number 1, Armada 2, Mango 3, Leffen 4, Mutaking 5th, Plup 6. Why is Axe 7th? Alright, that's its own mystery. Axe 7th, SFAT 8th, Westbowl's 9th, Shroom 10th. Interesting. Maybe there was some other conflict?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's probably like a regional thing. Sometimes at those numbers it matters less. You got to keep that in mind. Like the difference between 8 and 9 seed doesn't matter that much, right? Because 8 and 9 seed play each other anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, 8 9. You guys got to remember that about seeding. You can't be so particular about the numbers. 8 9 is effectively the same thing because they play each other, and then you have what you have, right? So often it's a matter of who 8 plays in top 16, who you want 9 to play in top 16, and whether that's a regional conflict or that's a matchup you want to get. So yeah, that's fine, right? I think having Axe as 8 is very arguable.
I think SI should have been over Axe. That's a surprise to me. So I mean, if you
wait, excuse me, this is the difference between 7 and 8 seed, not 8 9.
Yeah,
I'm reading that wrong.
It's because you were looking at the columns and not the seating tier.
Excuse me.
So I think it actually does make a big difference.
Yeah, there isn't a difference between 8 9, but there is a difference between 7 and 8. There is a difference there. It's still not that big a deal. I don't know. I'm not as particular about that one. I think the double seating is the one that's going to truly matter.
Yeah.
I think single seating, it's just frankly less important in this case.
So I think
when you have 3 good teams, it matters more than in this where everyone's good.
And then I think that also people are complaining about Leffen versus Mutating as a 4th and 5th seed. Whether or not you have one person as 4th and the other as 5th, it's very negligible in difference. So like in what was it, the round of 16, the difference is that one of them plays the 12th seed and the other one plays the 13th seed. And 12th and 13th seed is very much not a difference. Yeah. So like they're pretty much playing the same thing.
Yeah. Okay, so what's this like? So Leffen going, Leffen not going changes everything, right?
I mean, it gives. If Leffen doesn't go, Ice gets a ridiculous bump into getting a pretty straightforward route into 9th place minimum. Because
Leffen and Ice play each other in round of 16.
Correct.
Okay. So you're gonna have a Euro regardless. Yeah, I mean that's really good for Ice, right?
And actually, this is actually kind of funny. So if Hugo, I believe, passes, let's see, I'm trying to do the math in my head. If Hugo can beat Gatsu, I believe, in the round of 32.
That's asking a lot.
He would actually play Leffen. And
we could see, the run of the century.
We could see. If Hugs doesn't have to play Leffen, then he plays a significantly lower seed. So like Hugs could get to ice, and he could make quite a big of a run. So
we can see winner semis Hugs.
Yes. Oh wait, no, not that far. Winners quarters against like.
Winners quarters. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Because that'd be the 4 or 5 matchup with Mewtwo King.
And he would have to play ice, so it's like there's an outside chance that if you want to gamble big on fantasy. Hedging your bets that Leffen's not showing up and Hugs can be Gatsu, like you can double down on that and get.
Or you can bet on Gatsu, which sounds like a smarter bet right now.
I'm just saying who's gonna play Leffen.
How about you bet on Gatsu? That's what I heard.
Gatsu would, because Leffen would play most likely 4% in the first round.
Let's go 4%.
And Gatsu could have a good. Gatsu can have a good run.
Gatsu can have a run.
So if you are hedging on fantasy right now, Gatsu is a potential guy that you can mark down.
Yeah. And then like if you just look at the top level matchups, we have Armada Mango same side, and we have H-Box versus winner of Leffen Mewtwo King, or Mewtwo King Ice, likely same side.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's like the biggest top level matchups you can look at. I guess first we could talk about, well, there's also Plup at 6, so Mango has Plup on the same side, right?
Yeah, that's going to be very...
Feels like Plup runs into Mango every time.
Yeah, and to be fair, half the times it's not even intentional. It's just that Mango loses early.
Yeah.
And then they run into each other for like 9th place. And like Plup has had so many losers run sabotaged by Mango. And I guess... Mango's saying, well, you got me at EVO the last 2 years, so I'm going to ruin your life for the next year.
Yeah. Which is funny because, like, I think intuition says, hey, Plup is a really tough matchup for Mango. He can lose that. But we're at a point where, yes, as true as that is, he can lose that. Yes, it's true. Mango can absolutely lose that. But Plup's at a point where the threat he poses to most players is more than they can lose. But and it's more that Plup's favorite to win, right? Or Plup is even with that person, right?
Yeah.
And Mango has become one of his worst matchups at the top level, rather than one of his better ones. Obviously, Armada is harder for him.
Yeah.
But I personally want to see him against Hungrybox more. I want to see him against Mewtwo King more to see how that goes. Leffen more. But we keep seeing him against Mango, so we'll see how that goes.
I think we talked about it a little bit on the Scar and Toph show, where I wish like you have people within certain tiers, and if everybody keeps going to the same events, then you're just gonna keep having Mango versus Plup, and I think it'd be nice if we could shuffle within the same tier.
Yeah, I think that's just generally good. I think the problem is no TO wants to be the one to do it, right? They don't want to be the one that, we are on the show, we're being so particular about seeding. But you have to vary it up a little bit, right? Yeah. And so I do think it's good that it doesn't just go standard every time. And in doubles, we talked about how much it affects it. But hey, you know what? At least we see some matchups that maybe we wouldn't see otherwise, right? And singles the same thing. So you can't be too particular. I think being too particular is a little ridiculous.
Yeah. But at the same time, this I think also West Bowls was the victim of this last year, where he just kept playing Armada every time, or. There was that one 2-year stretch where Johnny would play Armada around of 64 every national, and just oh dang, I played Armada again.
Yeah. So I think it's tough because again, no TO wants to be the one to do it. So we see the victim of it, but I personally want to see that more diversity. Just no TO is really incentivized to be the one to go on a limb. So I'm not sure how to fix it exactly right now. But whatever. In this case, we have Plup Mango. What do you have odds on that?
I think it's a 2-1 on Mango side, especially if it's best of 5. And Plup, I have to. It's very big of a question mark on what character he goes.
Dweb makes a point earlier that Plup generally wins in winners, and Mango always wins in losers. And this would be in winners in this case.
But those two cases, I think both those cases were best of 3 and maybe one best of 5.
Oh.
So it'll be very.
So best of 5 favors Mango.
I think best of 5 outweighs the variable of winners and losers. The big thing here is does Mango randomly lose before? Who does he have before? He has Mike Hayes, so I think he's pretty safe. Um, let's see. He has Mike Hayes into Wizzy or Drug Fox. So I think he's pretty safe until Plop.
Wizzy is not as easy as it sounds, but I think his Falco is just too good, right? Like, yes, his Fox could potentially lose, but he's going to go Falco, so I just don't see it.
I mean, if you actually look, this is also the narrative of, like, when we kind of overestimate the lower seed just based on, like, one set.
Right.
Like, the last recent sets of Mango Wizzy, if you look at
Wizzy's
it, like,
never taken a set, has he?
No, he hasn't. And some of them have been really lopsided in Mango's favor, where it has not looked close. And once in a while, like, it could go to game 5, but a lot of times it's actually like 3-0.
Yeah.
So, outside chance, I actually honestly think that if Drug Fox could get past Wizzy, that Drug Fox actually has a better chance against Mango than Wizzy does.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's interesting. I mean, I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. I haven't looked at it, studied it extensively for the people that aren't like top 10 level.
Yeah, I think that. So okay. Let's just run through the world of Leffen going. Leffen going. How far does he get? Does he win them?
He went. I mean, God, I think the main thing is that EGLX, he had 1 week to prep for that, and then he had another week or two to prep for Gommel, and I think that's when he hit a straight spot. But now we just see him playing Overwatch, doing his boy band stuff on Twitter. Like, he hasn't played Melee in a while, so it's nothing short. It's not one of those comebacks.
This could be an EGLX instead of a Gommel, because at this point, it's been almost the same amount of time. I mean, Gommel was back in May or April? It was a while ago.
May, and I think his Leffen claim was that he wasn't really playing the game ever since after June.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it is incredibly a long time. And as much as
he's been playing Mewtwo.
He's been playing Mewtwo. He's been playing Overwatch. I think
he learned about his visa this week, so it's like he's gonna get in shape in 1 day, 2 days, because he has a flight too. He'd have to catch.
Yeah.
I just don't see. I don't think Leffen's gonna come.
Yeah, and if he does,
apparently he went to a local today. He played Fox, according to EDAV in the stream.
Yeah, but I think he needs more prep than that, and I think it's a kind of a sign of disrespect to say that Leffen can come back and compete against the other 4 after 3 months of absolutely no practice.
Yeah, and those other 4. I mean, last I checked,
they're really good.
They're pretty good at this game.
I mean, I think he's reasonably safe to pass through Hugs in the round of 32. I think Ice could give him a little bit of run for his money. I'd still give Leffen the favorite there.
Yeah.
But then he plays Mewtwo King the next round, and I'm not sure if I can make him the favorite.
Yeah, I don't see it. I think Mewtwo King is actually a dark horse in this whole event, because he's going to have an easy winner's quarters, right?
Yeah.
Whereas everyone else has a hard winner's quarters, right?
Yeah, by being the worst seed here, he ironically got the best.
Best seed, right?
Yeah.
And then, okay, so what's bad about it is he still, even if he gets no Leffen, he'll have to play Hungrybox, which of all the opponents is probably the hardest for him in the entire event, right?
I would say so.
By a long shot. So for me, based on how this is all shaping out, I have my bet's still getting stronger and stronger. Hungrybox, because I see Hungrybox Mewtwo King as a winner semis. Hungrybox winning that. I think Hungrybox winners finals is all but guaranteed, right? Unless, and here's where SFAT at 8th seed gets tricky. We have SFAT Hungrybox.
I don't know. He might not get past West Balls.
But then SFAT has to beat West Balls. So I don't think SFAT might not beat West Balls. In fact, probably won't.
I'm betting money on West Balls every day of the week in that.
Right. So, but who does West have to play before that?
Okay, so for the
because West can lose at any point.
All right, let's just scan for Sheiks. All right.
He plays MacD, right?
No, West plays Chudat. For that can be.
You're right, Chudat. Okay.
That's a pound rematch if I remember correctly.
Dude, he might lose that.
He can definitely.
He can very easily. He's not great against Ice Climbers.
And then he has Dark Atma in the round of.
That's a Sheik.
That's a round of.
That's a good Sheik.
So that's a potential upset alert. I mean, I would still say West is the favorite, But like I'd give Dark Atma like a 1 out of 4 chance of winning that set.
And 1 out of 4 is a lot.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
When you're comparing a top 10 seed versus like a 60th seed, like that is.
Yeah, that's a great chance. You take that any day. So, could Chu Dat make a run? Because he's beaten SFAT before. He can be West and he can be SFAT, and then he could be against Hungrybox.
This is one of those brackets that Fantasy Alert can be very favorable for Chu.
For Chu Dat, right?
Chu would have Captain Face roll in the round of 64, which is very. I don't remember the last time he's ever lost to a Sheik, so sorry, Face roll. I have to give that to a Chu, and then he would have to play West Bowls, and then after that, if SFAT makes it that far, then he has SFAT. So Chu can make a run for at least 9th place with that bracket. It's very doable for him.
Yeah. And as Edwin Budding notably points out, Chu has beaten Hungrybox before. You have to shave a few years off the results.
It's like 2014.
Yeah, but I mean, you know what?
2014?
That is like really recent when you think about it in the grand scheme of things.
But then, when's the last time HBox has lost to Night-Timers?
Wait, when is the last time Chu beat HBox?
It was Zenith. It was like a...
Zenith 2012?
I think it was 2012.
Did he play HBox in that tournament?
I think he did.
I know he played a lot of... He did really well.
I think I remember that set.
And obviously he won at Pound 5.
Which was even before that.
Yeah, that's a long time. 2010, right?
2010? Yeah. And so it's going to be very interesting. Chu could be top 8 at this event. I mean, let's assume he loses a Hungrybox, and then I don't know how loser shuffles, but just have to win one more match. And, you got Yagas, and Chu probably gets sponsored, and
Chillin as his hype man in the back. It'd be great. You know what? I kind of want this to happen.
I think that's a huge possibility for Chu. So, if you want to bet big, Chu at the 24th seed, I don't know how much he's valued at.
maybe if you pick Chu Dat as your fantasy. Chu's always a good fantasy pick, man.
Yeah, I mean, he always overperforms, and he has a bracket that...
He's one of the greatest players of all time.
Yeah, I mean...
You gotta pick that. That kind of opens up the roof for him. But Hungrybox, I still feel like, okay, so unless SFAT makes it through that gauntlet, right? Where West or Chu, whatever, he gets past that.
There's...
Wait, who does he have before the West round?
Who?
Who does he have before the West or Chu round? SFAT.
SFAT, let's see. 8th, 25th, None. He's pretty generally good.
Yeah, he's going to beat None. He's going to beat None.
I mean, None could take it. I could see an upset potential, but...
I doubt it. Right?
And then he has Taff who can't... no. I'm done.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. So I think West or Chu, either hard opponents for SFAT. So he could not make the Hungrybox. But if he does, we could see Hungrybox being stopped early. But otherwise, I mean, what do you count at? What chances do you give Mutate against Hungrybox nowadays?
15. 1 out of 6.
Well, that's pretty good. That's probably better than I'd give him.
You give him like 10? 1 out of 9?
1-9. Not 10. 10% sounds too low. Like 1 out
whatever.
of 9 or 1 out of 8. Like 12. 1 out of 8 is what? 12.5% or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's
something like that.
I think game 1 usually tells the story, right? Well, I think there's a couple factors. I mean, that you have to balance. Muta King is practicing, to be fair. It's just that I haven't really seen him play Fox very much.
Which has been the continual problem, is that he sticks to the strategy of not using Fox in any other matchup, in any other game, not even practicing the character, and then complains that his Fox messes up tech skill when he goes on the big stage. It's like, what do you expect, bro? Like, I mean, you're just gonna pick up the character and beat Hungrybox? Like,
well, I mean, if there's ever a time that Hungrybox is more vulnerable, it's now. Because when he lives in the middle of nowhere in terms of Smash population, and like he's focused on his job, he coaches Little League soccer on his weeknights. Like, how much does he honestly care about Melee compared to when
Little League soccer?
Yeah, you can look at his Twitter.
Wait, what?
Look at his Twitter.
Why is he doing that?
I don't know, because
it's fun.
I think so. Imagine like coaching little kids. I think
it kind of seems fun.
I think it's fun.
Yeah, those kids, dude. They have the worst coach in the world, man. He's gonna start putting like making roster adjustments, doing counter picks. He's gonna be like switching out rosters, and then all of a sudden, you have Gatsu in your crew. And you're like, what's going on? Oh no!
It's so
Coach H-Box, man.
Dude.
Coach Box.
It's just the main thing you tell them in soccer is just stop clumping in towards the ball. Can you teach little kids that? But I actually have another interesting match in winners round of 16. Pew Pew versus H-Box.
Oh.
If Pew Pew can beat Duck in the round of 32, which I think is very doable, although Duck
it's doable, but I mean, it's not.
It's not a cakewalk.
It's definitely not. I mean, what is that? 50-50?
I'd say slightly Pew Pew's favored.
55-45.
Something like that. If Pew Pew can get to H-Box, they went to Game 5 last time at CEO.
They did, and famously that Apex set, sure, it was a while ago now. Pew Pew could do that.
Yeah.
Those are definitely in Hungrybox's way. Now let's talk about Armada and his story. In general, I think what's crazy about this tournament, going into it, is in many ways we talked about how we're kind of low on all of the gods, right? All of them at this moment. Hungrybox, we just talked about how he's focusing on Little League soccer coaching and, and how much that takes up his day. Armada hasn't been to many events this year. Hasn't really done much when he has been for like a good 6 months now. Mango. All right, well, you never know with Mango. And then Leffen, we don't even know if he's coming. Mewtwo King wouldn't shine, but like it's hard to ever bet on Mewtwo King because he generally doesn't win majors with many gods in them. So
I mean, I think he's really safe for top 5 or top 6. Right?
Mewtwo King, yeah. I think Mewtwo King's gonna make top 5, but he's gonna win.
That's tough.
I actually like him for top 3. I think he's gonna run to Hungrybox, lose, and then I like him for everyone else.
Even Armada?
No, I think he's still like a 2-1 disadvantage against Armada. But that I said top 3, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So.
And what was it? There was some other thing. So Armada's bracket, it's pretty, honestly, straightforward. Just shows how consistent Armada is against everybody else.
Yeah.
Most likely Money Mike, and then Ladandis, and then Swedish, and then Axe or Shroomed. And
yeah.
I think the interesting thing here is that both of them want to meet Armada really bad. And I would actually love to see Shroomed Armada in NTSC. That's something we haven't seen. Last time was, I believe, PAL at DreamHack, where Shroomed actually took a game in PAL. And,
in PAL, of all places. It's so hard. That matchup, I mean, as a Sheik player, do you think Peach wins in PAL?
I think Peach definitely wins in PAL, because you can get it. What consequence does Peach have for shielding? Like,
nothing.
I get a grab.
Nothing.
Once in a while I get a grab, and the other times I miss, and if I do get the grab, I get down throw.
I mean, there is an argument that Peach wins NTSC. I know Armada really likes that matchup. Not just like, and Armada jaws for Peach all day, right?
Yeah.
Like, he genuinely just thinks the matchup's fine.
I think the match is reasonable. I just think Armada's at another level.
I mean, for sure. He knows the matchup way better than anyone else.
Like, I think Sheik wins in NTSC. I think that Peach's at Armada, the reason why they're losing is because they're not hitting as hard as Armada does when they get an opening. And, once Peaches start doing that, it's a lot more even. But I think the way most Peaches play, I think Sheik is pretty reasonably favored in NTSC.
Yeah. Having said that, until it happens, I don't see a Sheik beating Armada. Like, Shroom Armada just seems...
I think out of all the Sheiks, I think Shroom probably has the best shot.
Why?
He grew up on Allen and Azusa. And, like, even when you watch the way they approach Sheik, like, you watch Pleb Sheik and Mewtwo King Sheik, Dwan knows how to get in much better than everyone.
I'd say Pleb has the best chance.
Have you seen Evo?
Yes, I did see it, but...
Pleb's amazing, but what practice...
Pleb's amazing.
But what practice does he get against Peach?
True, Look, I love Azusa. I think Allen and Azusa are great players, but... Armada.
Yeah.
Is that really practice for Armada? I think Armada is literally so many tiers ahead, and especially in that matchup. I think as players, Allen and Azusa, great practice, Peach practice.
Yeah.
But in that particular matchup, Armada plays it so much better than everyone else that I'm not sure there's any practice that helps.
I mean, that's analogous to what Fox Hungry Box, right?
Right, like, no, the other puffs are good. It's just our Hungry Box is so many levels above, especially in the Puff Fox.
Yeah.
That I'm not sure if playing against other puffs even helps that much.
That's true.
You know, like you could get your up throw up airs more consistently.
But I mean, there's something to be said that like knowing where Peach is really vulnerable and can't do much just because she's a bad character in certain aspects does help a lot, and that's where I worry about playing against Armada is that he doesn't seem to know where Peach is weak.
Right. It's tough. I think. Still, I think Armada's path is pretty clear cut. The Armada Mango is if Mango makes it to him. Mango, of course, as we've discussed plenty of times in the past. Yes, he only has Mike Hayes in the earlier rounds, and then after that he has
Drug Fox or Wizzy.
Drug Fox or Wizzy. So I'm pretty sure he's gonna make it.
Yeah.
I don't see Mango dropping up until that, and then Plup is the hard one. So Plup is really the one that can stop Mango, right?
Yeah, I mean,
but like the other ones, almost impossible to stop him. So we're probably gonna see Armada Mango, and recent results, I pick Mango.
I have to go Mango too, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think the one thing that is a big dilemma in this what character am I going to play against or play as? That's what Mango struggled with last year in 2015. It's like, do I go Fox or Falco? And I think he has a good idea of what he wants to do. I don't know if Armada's figured that out yet.
Are we gonna see the Mango Marth?
I mean, definitely. Like,
yeah, right.
Why would he not go Marth on FD? Like in the best.
There's no reason not to.
And I think the big issue here is like, how confident does Armada feel in his Fox? Because he is 0-7 in Fox does against Mango. It's like come to the point where it's like, dude, like.
I think he's still confident as Fox. I think he's wrong.
I agree. And then it's just like, at what point, how many games do you have to lose before you finally realize that this may not be the matchup for you?
Yeah, and this goes to a general theme of analysis that we've been talking about, is that it's weird because once you get to the tippy top level, people can switch characters pretty fluidly because they're just so good at the game that they're able to take their inherent knowledge of the game and the game mechanics, apply it to a new character for a few months, and be pretty good. But what's harder is to deal with the second wave of when people try to analyze you, figure you out, understand your approach on the character, and start to encounter strategies for you, and then taking your secondary, effectively, who you actually have, your knowledge, is maybe not as deep. It's still a little shallow, and being able to play the counterplay war, right? Yeah. It's one thing to just surprise people with your new style and your shallow-ish understanding of the character, right? But it's another thing to be able to then take that and go deeper and play the counterplay and be consistent with it. And not saying that Armada's necessarily dealing with that because he's been a Fox for a good while now, but I do think that is a worry. Is his Fox gradually getting figured out by the field? Is it just that he hasn't been going to enough tournaments to keep it warm? Is he having a hard time juggling the two characters? I'm not sure which of those factors it is, but if I was coaching him and he was playing Mango, I would tell him not to go Fox at all.
I think, so I've talked to a lot of top players, and I'm just like saying, okay, what's the issue with Armada's Foxes? Armada's Fox against the very elite players that he just can't seem to overcome. And what they're telling me in pseudo-private, because some of them are pretty open, is that Armada has played such a defensive character in Peach, and you carry certain traits of it, but he hasn't quite figured. His punish game is phenomenal, but he can't seem to close the gap very cleanly, and that's what they're abusing of Armada. Is that he's going to play a defensive every time, and if they let Armada make the play as Fox, which is what you should be doing as Fox, he tends to make the incorrect play and gets punished really hard. So essentially what Armada's relying on is just like similar to his Peach. He's relying on his opponents to kind of make a mistake in their approach, and then he combos you to death.
Fox is way worse at that.
Yeah.
Fox as a character is not built for that. And sometimes I watch as Fox and he's like full screen length away.
Yeah.
And he tries to play the whole match like that. It's like, man, like, I'm not sure if you're taking the advantage of the character's strengths, right?
Yeah. And when you're playing like a Mango or a Leffen who are perfectly comfortable, if you give them breathing room, they will take every advantage of it.
Yeah.
And That's where Armada's, we tote Armada as 10 out of 10 in like every facet of the game almost, except for maybe his approach game is a little weak, and that's where he's going to need to figure that out. And I don't know how he figures that out in one tournament where the only way you really learn those skirmishes is by skirmishing against good players.
Right. Where Mango is probably the skirmish master. I think he's probably the best of ever at figuring out skirmishes. And, that's quite a skill because the king before him, Ken, was also really good at skirmishes.
Yeah.
Ken, like, he made, wine out of water. He made lemonade out of lemons. He always seemed to figure out a way to make weird situations go his way. And I think Mango's been like that too. And the weird thing about top level is because people's DIs get so good, they go to the final tier of options, right?
Yeah.
They, base level, 2 nukes playing. The first option, probably the worst option, is the one that you have to cover.
Yeah.
You have to cover, is he going to double jump towards you when you down throw?
Or like wake up Shoryuken if you play Street Fighter.
Yeah.
The scrub
Like
option.
if you throw him off stage, is he going to double jump into you? That's like base level. And then the higher up you go in level, the more tiers and layers there are to the counterplay. And so the top tippy-top guys are playing at an ultimate tier, the last layer. And so being able to adjust to the weirdness that you don't usually see in matches because you don't see that smart decision that often is what really separates the good from the great.
And to add, this is why I think Mango gave Hungrybox a lot more respect, because Hungrybox played that defensive gear his entire life and didn't learn to skirmish against the better players, and that's why the better players always won. But because he learned, like, hey, I have to learn how to play this aggressive skirmishy style to win, that's what made him a better player. And I think that's the next step that Armada needs to do, is put himself in situations where it's not 100% risk-free. Because against good players, that strategy is not going to work out for you. You're not going to find enough.
Yeah. So that I think it's curious. I do take Mango on that. I think we're very likely going to see Mango versus H-Box as our winners finals.
Ooh, that'd be very interesting.
Right? That looks like what it's going to be leading into. They'll be marching into that. I don't know if that'll end up being our grand finals, because again, I do think Mewtwo is going to be lurking in losers after losing to H-Box, and who knows what he'll do.
If Mango loses that, I can see me taking in the grand finals.
It could be, right?
Yeah.
But he'd have to go through Armada, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we might not see Mewtwo King Mango, which at this point I'd probably favor Mewtwo King for. So it's interesting. This might be it's a pretty good bracket for Mango, right?
I mean, the big question mark, I think
his lead up isn't that bad. Plup is the rest are pretty good, right?
I mean, I think out of everybody that he could be playing, I think Plup was probably the worst guy he could get.
I don't know. I'd be scared for him if he played another encounter with SFAT.
That's true.
I would be terrified for him. Like in West, I mean, I just watched him play friendlies against West yesterday, late into the night. Dude, West. By the way, again, blur eye test. Take it for what you will. West looks good. West looks really good. Now, he could run into a Sheik or he could run into a floaty, and I actually throw that prediction away. But, dude, I think West is just ridiculous right now. I don't see SFAT winning that.
I don't see. I mean, if
West against Fox is literally incredible.
I think you would have to give me tremendous odds for me to bet SFAT in that.
Yeah, I don't think SFAT would win that. I think West is nuts.
I think it's like the anomaly that SFAT wins. Like SFAT's won like 1 or 2 times over the years. I think West is just so good at that matchup that I just don't see him having much of a chance.
Yeah. So
Especially
we both agree on that. I mean, I think West is just the SFAT Slayer. SoCal, baby. So it's it's super interesting. When's your flight? Do you have to leave soon, or
probably have to leave.
How much more time do we have? Huh?
Probably have to leave at like 3:15 at the episode.
Okay, cool. So we have like 45 more minutes. Cool. Maybe 30 more minutes.
Probably 30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's think about overall predictions with this. I think I said earlier I still have Hungrybox winning, despite worries about what kind of shape he's in. I do think him having Mewtwo King in semis is good. I don't think SFAT's going to make it to him. I think it's probably going to be West Balls. And I have Hungrybox Mango. Mango does sound like he could just win that, but
only if he can make it to that.
But Mango has to go plug Armada, so he might not even be there. I don't think I have Armada at almost 0%. I don't like Armada's chance against Hungrybox.
It can't be 0 though, right?
It's not 0, but it's like 30.
I would say like 15 to 20.
You think it's that low? That's
For
like
us-
Mewtwo numbers.
for Armada?
No, I'm saying Armada chances against Hungrybox.
I mean, I consider that almost a coin flip at this point.
You still have 50-50. I don't. I have Hungrybox favor.
You do?
Quite, I think 70-30, yeah.
Oh wow.
Quite significantly. I genuinely don't believe in Armada Fox. Now in that matchup, he can play that way a little bit, but I don't especially if Armada has to do 2 sets.
I think the big thing here, I mean, I talked about it, is Armada and Mewtwo are the type of players that prepare for one matchup really well, like on the schedule, right? If he has one tough matchup, you can bet he's theory crafting, practicing all night. Top 8, if Mango gets there, Armada has to think about Mango's Fox and Marth. And then immediately after, if he wins that, has to play against Puff. So he has to prepare for 3 matchups, right away. And under those circumstances, I just don't see Armada winning against both.
Yeah.
So
I think the Mango H-Box 1-2 punch is just too hard for Armada.
Yeah.
And at some point we have to say that. Look, Evo, at the end of the day, he still got second. He was still basically a hit away from winning. So
I mean, he was a full stock ahead of Hungrybox.
Maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe that's true. But I think that you have to look at the grand scheme of things and think about Armada's results over the last 6 months.
I mean, but
how impressive is it really?
I mean, if you really think about it, what was his bracket run in Evo? And this is the generosity of having the first seed. Yeah, we talked about him making grand finals, but he had to beat Plup and Mewtwo Plup to get there.
Yeah, that was his run.
I mean, that's the ultimate dream, bracket for him.
Ultimately, the question mark is, can he beat Mango in H-Box? And he hasn't proven that over the last 6 months.
Yeah. I mean, so if we kind of trace back, right? All summer, we haven't seen much from him. Evo, we really didn't see much from him. Although he did get close against Hungrybox, what the Fox 2? Mango just kind of ran over him. And those are the last impressions we have of Hungrybox in the past 4 months, if you really think about it. And at Gommel, he kind of...
You mean of Armada, sorry.
Of Armada, right? We look at what the Fox, we look at Evo, we look at Gommel and EGLX where he forfeited. This is really the picture we have of Armada in literally the past 6 months against top-level competition, and we both don't like what we see.
Right. And again, look, sometimes I feel like I need to reel it back just so the chat understands. As Tom says, Blur must drink during tournaments. He doesn't see our same Armada we do. Bro, we still think Armada's a top 3 player in the world. Read between the lines. What we're saying is we don't know if you can win the goddamn tournament, which takes a little bit being better than top 3. It takes being top 1.
Yeah.
you gotta do a little bit better than that. We're saying we're accurately predicting he's probably gonna get a top 3 at even this event. But we just don't know if he can beat out H-Boxer and Mango, who are also godlike.
Yeah. And just...
Not just godlike, they are gods.
Armada against everyone, Mewtwo and below, is heavily in Armada's favor.
Yeah, of course.
Let's give him that.
He's still incredible. Yeah. But really get back,
look at
H-Box and Mango, also incredible.
And just looking at the data against the other top 4 to 5 players, in the past 6 months, it hasn't looked very good.
Right.
And so that's the main worry. He can annihilate everyone else, but it's like that regular season team in basketball that gets the 60 wins and it just falls apart in the playoffs. That's our impression of Armada right now. It's against elite level teams, what can he do?
He's the Phoenix Suns of the mid 2000s.
Mid 2000s,
Phoenix Suns of the mid 2000s.
And then he runs into the Spurs or whatever.
Hungrybox the Spurs? No.
We know Armada's the Spurs, man. Or
let Mango beat the Spurs.
Why is Mango the Spurs?
Just let Mango be the Spurs.
That
please.
Makes no... Okay,
please,
fine.
Please.
We'll give it to you.
Please. Oh, man. The 60-win Atlanta Hawks, Adam says, give him more credit than that. He's not the Atlanta Hawks. Come on, bro.
Although, if he was the first seed of this tournament, then I would give him that analogy.
Maybe.
It's kind of funny sometimes when we say a player is doing bad, but they don't understand the context. So players will come up and say, "You guys told us we were bad. We're top." No.
Bro, we're still saying you're gonna get top 3.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
There's always doubts. I do think still if I gave the percentages, I think Armada's chance of winning are still solid 15, 20%, which is still really high. Noah's percentage to win this tournament is probably higher than 30, 35, right? Like, even Hungrybox would have as about 30% winner.
I give him about, like... He has an easier bracket, so we have to give him percentage points higher.
Yeah,
Probably 35.
35.
Just for an easier bracket.
Yeah. And then Mango, probably like 20, 25.
If Mango can make it to top 8, I think he wins. Like, in winners. But that is, like, so coin flippy.
No, I don't think it is. I actually don't. I believe him in that. You're worried about Plub?
I'm worried about Plub. I'm always worried about Plub.
I mean, you should be worried about Plub. But I think... I'm often worried about his stage in the tournament before winners quarters. And if he has Wizzy and he has...
So, good news, though.
It's pretty easy. Like, it's not that bad for him.
Okay, so... God. Okay. Having to take care of Mango, making sure he's in game shape is absolutely some of the most frustrating things I have to deal with.
Okay.
But Mango... I'll talk about the schedule and why it matters here. Shine, you have day 2, top 64 into top 8, right? You have to be prepped for that. You can't underestimate that. And then you have top 8 on day 3. Mango doesn't sleep on, like, going into the top 64 bracket. I know that's a John, and that's, like, something I'm just like, please, like, you gotta sleep.
I'm personally one of those people who don't think it's a John because I think that is part of your skill. I think that's literally...
Like, preparing is important.
Yes. Preparation is part of your skill as a player.
Yeah.
If you fail in that, then you are less skilled as a player, in my eye.
That's fair. But point being, this time around, top 64 to top 8, and top 8 is on Sunday. And at the very least, at least Mango is disciplined enough on the last night of the tournament to sleep. And at the very least, I don't have to pull strings to try to convince him that you cannot just not show up on day 2 and hope that everything works out.
There is also the factor that doubles is going to be played on Sunday, and Mango will have a break there.
Yeah.
So he has less on his plate than everyone else. Maybe he'll be able to juggle things a little bit better. I don't know. I actually think I generally think that's probably a negative, because I think, like, being able to get into that good game shape through doubles and the competitive game shape is probably going to be an advantage for most of these players, no?
Yeah.
Like, I've always thought that, hey, you perform well in doubles is a good sign for singles, right? Like, that means you're in the right competitive mentality. You're probably warm. You probably felt, high level competition. Sometimes, especially now, like, we've been a good 6 weeks since a big tournament. Like, these guys haven't seen the stage for a while, right? And especially a stage like Big House, like with all those stakes riding on it, right?
Yeah. Sorry, Mango. Speaking of the devil, Mango messaged me what if I knew his bracket.
If he's watching the show, he'd know. So. Yeah, like, it's insane. This tournament, I think this has more questions in it than we can count. It's hard to pick who makes top 8, who makes, who does well in the stages before that. There's so many names, so many, pretty much, again, like we said, it's everyone's here.
And I think the big question here is that we kind of forget how much of a time gap there was between this and Shine.
It's, we mentioned earlier, September was... And, one of the worst months we've ever had in terms of events.
Like, large-scale events.
Ever since 2013, right? Like, September was just biggest drought. I mean, like, what was the biggest event in September? Syndicate, right? So, that was the biggest event we had this month. It was probably the highest viewed. I think the highest viewed event was, like, in SSS. If you actually look at the Twitch numbers.
And know the Twitch numbers.
Like... That's not something I'm proud of. That's like that's a bad month. A local shouldn't be the best of our best in our month.
And that's what. But the point being is that this adds another layer of mystery. 6 weeks of like non-practice or taking a break is huge. I mean, this is what we see in sports with like the preseason. Like people kind of stumble along in the first couple of weeks and it looks really ugly. We don't know what our motto looks like, and this adds to another mystery of why we can't predict anything. 6 weeks is a long time.
6 weeks is a really long time. I think it's going to affect everybody. It's longer than we're used to, that's for sure. Luckily, after Big House, everything's going to start getting rolling again, and we're going to have tournaments after tournaments. But it makes everything tough to predict. I wonder what kind of lab work these guys have been doing. Like, who has been taking a break right now? And there was a time where that was like, hey, you don't have tournaments? Just chill, bro. But nowadays... These guys are signed. It's their job to get better at the game during those lull periods. So I wonder if there's been guys like maybe Drug Fox, maybe Wizrub, whoever, who have been taking that time to really focus on their game to get better.
And some people are going to come from the off season competitively overweight.
Right?
Yeah.
They're going to do that. And that you see that in the NBA, right?
Yeah.
Is that you watch the first few weeks, you're like, this guy was amazing. Why is he so garbage this year?
Yeah.
And then 3 months into the season, all of a sudden his stats improve.
Yeah.
Because he gets in shape by playing.
But I think overall this is going to set the tone, right? Because we are going to be re-entering tournament season after Big House, right? We have a bunch of these big events thanks to coordination that you've been running. October, November, and even December are a little bit more crowded than
our staff. Right after Big House, we have Blood for Blood, and then after that, I think Canada Cup, Eclipse,
Summit.
I think it's Big House, Blood for Blood, Eclipse,
Summit,
Canada Cup, Summit. I don't know.
Toss in DreamHack somewhere.
DreamHack winners in November as well. Their Thanksgiving weekend of all things.
And I think there's UGC somewhere in there.
UGC is in December. There's Don't Park in the Grass. Like, it gets a little ridiculous for the last few months of the year as people race for their SSBM rank position.
Yeah.
Because again, the year is closing and people need that as they vie for maybe sponsorships or new deals going into the next year. It's very important for them to close out the year well.
And unfortunately, I'm still debating this. I'm going to be starting, speaking of SSBM rank, I'm probably going to start handing ballots around late November after DreamHack. And then I'll let people fill in as much as they can before UGC. But ideally, they want to give it back to me the Monday following so I can turn around and make
Don't Park is after UGC.
But I need some turnaround time before Genesis.
Yeah. So Don't Park going to be not counted?
Well, I mean, at this point, if it's a scope of an entire year, I can't imagine one tournament changing that much. And I need some, because with how yearly our schedule
Sure.
I need to chop off somewhere for the turnaround lead time.
Sure. I mean, I could see that. Yeah. Regardless, I think Big House is going to be a very hype event. I'm excited for it. I'm doing a lot of cool, neat stuff as a caster for it. I know you are as well.
Yeah.
I think that stuff was announced, so I think we could talk about it.
Yeah, they released the schedule earlier this week, so it's all public. Who are you commentating with?
I'm doing like 10 blocks or something. But I'm doing double stop 8 with Wobbles, which will be fun.
Awesome.
So I've done with Wobbles a little bit in the past. I'm excited to do teams. As you guys can tell, I've been trying to push teams really hard for a while now. I think it's the dopest format. It's my favorite. And I'm excited to really, dive into the storylines going to that. And then after that, there's also going to be analyst desk segments during single stop 8.
Before single stop 8. Oh, wait, no, during top 8.
During top 8. So I'll be doing top 8 as well.
Why don't you explain that to them? I'm pretty sure they're unfamiliar.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how much information has been out. But basically, we're going to be doing an analyst desk concurrently with the top 8 between sets and like doing talks and stuff.
So explain to me the flow. Let's say the first winner semis match happens.
So the match happens.
And then Scar and Toast.
We have Scar and Toph talking, and then it flips to the analysts, and then it basically flips to the stage host, and then flips back.
So yeah. So after the set happens, we're gonna go to another desk for D1 and Blur. Are going to talk more in depth while we transition to the next match.
Exactly. So we're only going to have like a few minutes before we set, but I think it's a first step. I think get our feet wet with analyst desks and then kind of see how it goes. I do want to see it be more of a thing long term in Smash. I think people have wanted it for a while also, and we can experiment with more formats like that. It'll be cool.
And I think it's cool because one of the biggest things that's kind of hard to do is recollecting your thoughts. And if you're doing a whole block by yourself, sometimes you want to talk to your commentator in private and say, like, let's make a few adjustments here, or let's point out new things, and then your mind is fresh going to the next set. So these breaks going back and forth between two groups, I think will actually be a huge help for both of you guys as teams.
Yeah. So I think it'll be good. I'm super curious about this, about the format on that. I also think I'm super curious to say, we talked about earlier in the last show, the stream schedule. We're going to have all Melee on VG Bootcamp, and we're going to have all Wii U on Unrivaled Tournaments. Make sure to follow them as well. Their production quality is also really good. and they're going to be in separate stages and separate rooms throughout.
Yeah.
So, this is going along the theory that the Wii U and Melee fan bases don't have much overlap, and statistics have proven that to be true. We have those numbers from attendance numbers from Smash EG and through viewership numbers on the Twitch side of things. They genuinely are different communities that just coexist, cohabitat a lot of events together.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see if that ends up affecting our overall numbers. And currently, I suspect it will. I think it'll likely mean a higher Melee peak than we otherwise would have gotten. Probably a smaller Wii U peak than we otherwise would have gotten.
Unfortunately, we are in conflict with one of the biggest events of the year.
And there's Worlds.
So maybe this data might not be as good.
Yeah. So unfortunately, there's two factors that make this data maybe a less worthwhile experiment. One is Worlds. People might not think it, but the cross section between pretty much any Twitch viewer and a League of Legends fan is high.
Yeah.
Right? Because League of Legends is just that big of a game.
Yeah, I mean, I went to TwitchCon and a lot of the League of Legends guys, I had conversations with about Smash, and they love the game, but they're gonna frankly be watching Worlds.
Yeah, and that's just a theme, right? People love Smash Brothers, but you're on during League of Legends World, you get killed. It's kind of like the Super Bowl. You don't put things on during the Super Bowl. Now it's not the World's finals. World's like a 3-week event, so it's really hard to avoid. Our calendar can't really avoid 3 weeks,
But Worlds has been amazing this year.
And it's been amazing. Look, League of Legends Worlds and Dota's International, and to a lesser extent the CSGO Majors, are events of such scale in the esports space. But the problem is they're so long. The Majors, thankfully, not so. But International is also a few weeks long, right? They had a year where it was 5 weeks long. It's you can't really avoid it when you're making a tournament calendar. So you just kind of got to eat it. And I think, unfortunately, we'll see if Big House gets affected by it in terms of viewership.
I mean, I think it will, which is kind of unfortunate, but I think we'll still...
What's up, Tran?
I mean, we will still have great viewership, and I'm going to do everything in my power to get Mango into top 8.
Okay.
That a non-player can.
Yeah.
I'm going to kick everyone out of his room.
Coach Taffo, Papa Taffo.
I'm going to have no nonsense. And, well, actually, I'm going to just suggest that most people leave, and then Mango will follow suit.
Yeah.
I can't tell him what to do.
I just noticed, by the way, I didn't have to have my headset on for this entire show.
I was
there was no audio going through this. I actually did not have to do that.
I think just out of habit, right?
Out of habit, because I always have my headset on to help with that, but I didn't have to do that. So, yeah, we'll see. I think it'll be one of the most interesting things to come out of the weekend. My current prediction, my intuition says it'll mean higher Melee viewership and lower Wii U viewership. But not sure. Maybe also Wii U will perform better because they'll have a higher ramp to themselves. Maybe Law Groups is just going to throw this entire wrench in this entire plan, and we don't even know. But I'm hoping that the Smash Faith will help spread the word because that's what's really important.
You know what we need to promote? Multi-Twitch or whatever.
Yeah, multi-Twitch.
Where it's you can watch League of Legends, Worlds, and Melee.
Why not watch both? League games are 50 minutes long. You don't need to watch the whole thing.
Or when they talk about analysis and you're not interested in that, or you're waiting between matches, you can open up Melee.
And you know what? I give you permission. If we have an awesome analysis segment where Blur is dropping knowledge, you can watch a League of Legends game during it. I understand I'm not gameplay. As beautiful as my face is, you probably want to watch gameplay.
Yeah.
So, you could do that too. I accept that. Just keep a window open for Smash Brothers because,
I think we're preaching to the choir.
What
we have to do.
I don't think the people watching Commentator's Curse are not going to be watching Big House.
We have to convince them to tell their
other people.
Yes.
And spread the word.
Multi-level marketing.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Isn't that also another term for a pyramid scheme? Yeah.
Well, pyramid scheme implies that we are giving them salary and stuff.
No,
right?
we are asking this out of the goodness of their heart for free.
Yeah. So
please market for Smash Brothers. Help our grand pyramid scheme of a competitive community out because Big House is one of our big number years. We got to perform. Sometimes you got to perform. You got to step up to the plate, and Big House is one of those times.
And then you might hear on audio, this is Binky Barnes here to bring you Melee Top 8. Shouts to Fendrick. Alrighty.
I love that joke though.
Oh my gosh, I need to retweet that.
Yeah,
right
Big
now.
Barnes.
Yeah, I'm gonna retweet that.
I feel like every month we need to unretweet that and retweet it again.
I love that Twitter
Just to
has
bring
that
it back.
feature.
It's so good. I feel like you should be able. You can pin retweets now, right?
Yeah, you can pin retweets.
That's good. That's good. That's good. It's too good. Anyway, I think we should wrap up the show now. I think we went through our major analysis. Please let us know feedback on this show. We tried to do something special this time where we actually even cut out the Q&A section entirely, which is unique for us. But we just don't have time for it because Tafo has a flight to catch. And we did an in-person show, kind of condensed the format. Maybe people like us running through the preview a little bit faster. Special preview show.
Yeah. And I'm more than happy to answer questions tomorrow. I'll be back in Los Angeles in a bit, and I'll run a stream just to do it. But this is a nice segment that we can close. It's a little bit more digestible for people that just want to see Big House.
Yeah,
I'll go ahead and answer some questions tomorrow on my stream.
Absolutely, and you can also check out the twitch.tv/The Crimson Blur. If you guys don't already know, my stream is banging. Check out my Snapchat. Check out my YouTube. I'm going to put an out of focus episode out before Big House. I promise you guys that. It's going to be banging. Follow, do all that. Tafo just had Frederick Lamar as a moderator to the room. I disagree, but we're going to keep moving on.
Yeah, alrighty. Is that all? Any more shout-outs? Also, we're more than happy. I mean, if you guys are big fans of us, we're very approachable guys. If you want to say hi to us at Big House, more than awesome. We'd love to get to know, our fan base.
If you tell us you are a fan of the Commentator's Curse, I mean, I might just kiss you right on the spot. I'll be so happy.
Will you pull a Shaq on Nairo kiss?
We might just pull Shaq on Nairo kiss. It might happen. We might do one of those kisses where I kiss you on the forehead. I kiss my own hand, but it looks like I kiss you. It'd be great.
It'd be amazing. Yeah, we gotta get the right camera angle for that.
It'd be fantastic. So, we're chill. Just say what's up. We'd love to meet you guys. I know a lot of you guys are probably gonna be at Big House. We love to talk about the show. If you have any questions, you can ask in person. Also, we're just homies. So see you guys there. Super excited for the event. Big House is gonna be amazing.
All right. Is there other Melee streams running right now?
Maybe we just put a raid up.
Yeah, let's get the raid. Normally the Super Smash Brothers is on the quick link.
Bruna says, I watched every episode, PogChamp. Bruna, you're the man. You're the freaking man.
Alright, who do we want?
Who do we want?
Well, they're saying none. We've never done none before.
Can we just, you're on Melee right now?
Yeah.
So there's Johnny, Phil, none. Yeah, let's do none.
Alright. We're gonna do none.
And you're gonna upload this on YouTube before Big House, right?
Well, we can just do it now.
We should just do it now.
Alright. Good night. Or good
See
day.
you guys.
Alright.